Morant with a running start. Elevates. Oh, it dunks. Oh, my goodness.
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn. His heave is gone. Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining.
Conley now with three. Count it. A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant. Oh, he hit it. John Morant, insanity.
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parish. The Grizzlies win their first preseason game. They defeat the Milwaukee Bucks 107-102. They outscore the Bucks 18-3 to close the game. They rally for the win. It was a fun fourth quarter. It was a showcase for all of the rookies. We got to see a lot of good stuff from Kenneth Lofton Jr. and Kennedy Chandler and Jake LaRavia and David Roddy. It's one of those preseason games where you feel really good afterwards because of how it finished, because of a fourth quarter where you drop 41 points. Now, I don't want to slow down anybody's enthusiasm for any of their favorite rookies. I mean, I don't know how I could slow down the hype train for Kenneth Lofton Jr. That guy is absolutely out of control. But there are some things, I think, from this preseason game that we can maybe learn about. And there are maybe a couple concerning things, possibly, not to rain on the parade. But the first three quarters, not very good. And those first three quarters possibly identified some of the issues that might be things that the team has to deal with all year. Now, it's always a question, how much can you take away from preseason? How much should you take away from preseason? It's a fair debate. I don't know. Maybe the things I'm about to say are meaningless. And, you know, like, what can you actually take away from a game where your top six guys or so didn't play? There was no Ja Morant. There was no Tyus Jones, no Dylan Brooks, no Desmond Bane, no Steven Adams, no Xavier Tillman, and then obviously no Jaren Jackson Jr. So can we learn anything from a game when those guys don't play? I think maybe we can learn just a couple things, a couple bits of information. I told you last episode that, like, not everyone would play. It would be really surprising if everyone played on Saturday against the Bucks. Despite saying that, I was still a little bit surprised how many guys set out for the Grizzlies. Presumably, they are all saving themselves for the Grizzlies' first home preseason game, which is tonight, which is Monday night at 7 p.m. against the Orlando Magic. Hopefully, we'll get to see Paolo Banchero's NBA debut, but I'm guessing we're going to see most of the guys who did not play on Saturday night because there haven't really been injury reports. So make sure you go down to the FedEx Forum. Let's make it loud. Let's make a great home crowd for the Grizzlies' first preseason game. Get those tickets by calling 901-888-HOOP or clicking grizzlies.com. Before I just fawn over the rookies' performance, which I will do, I think there are two things that I took away from this game. And one of them is the depth chart. We thought maybe we'd get some answers about the depth chart. We thought maybe this first preseason game would tip Taylor Jenkins' hand and let us know who's going to be the opening night starter. Because in previous preseasons, when there'd been a position debate or a positional competition, like who's going to be the starting shooting guard a couple years ago, well, Grayson Allen started the first preseason game. So I took it as, oh, okay, so Grayson's first in line. Well, maybe it doesn't count because so many guys sat out and both Brandon Clark and Santi Aldama started this game. But one thing I took away from this game, despite all the guys who sat out, was it kind of affirmed my opinion of the depth chart. I took it as saying that this kind of general like rotation I did last episode, and if you haven't seen that episode yet, go to YouTube, watch the last episode of Grits and Grinds, where I come up with a 10-man rotation of what I think a reasonable 10-man rotation could be while Jaren Jackson Jr. is out. Now, what happened on Saturday night didn't resemble this because of all the guys who didn't play, but if you take out of this like general depth chart, this idea that Santi Aldama's ahead of the rookies, he's ahead of LaRavia and Roddy. And then if you just crossed off all the guys who didn't actually play, you'd be left with the starting lineup that was what the actual starting lineup was on Saturday night. If you say, hey, these guys aren't playing, and then if you take our depth chart or our rotation that we created and say, all right, well, that means Kennedy Chandler's going to be the one, John Conchar and Zaire Williams are going to be your wings, and then your front court is Santi Aldama and Brandon Clark. So I took that a little bit as an affirmation that like the general feeling that Aldama's ahead of LaRavia and Roddy in the depth chart is right, and thus I think he might have the inner track to be that opening night starter. Now, Brandon Clark also started the game on Saturday, and he could be opening night starter. But I mean, even if we're basing it on that game's performance, like, I think Aldama played a little bit better than Brandon Clark. I think one frustration on Brandon Clark, it's like in a preseason game where he's one of the best guys on the court. Like if you said like in a vacuum, who's the best Grizzlies player on the court right now? A lot of this game, you'd say, oh, it's Brandon Clark. But like, he didn't really make his impact felt, and maybe it's just preseason. It doesn't matter at all. He's a guy who doesn't create his own shot, dependent on others, dependent on hustle plays, offensive rebounds and stuff to really get going. Maybe it's not fair to compare him to Santi Aldama, who looks a little comfortable with the ball in his hands. Sometimes maybe a little too comfortable. He takes a lot of shots. Maybe that will slow down once he starts playing with the other regular starters. He also gets out of control a little bit where he has enough ball skills where he can get by defenders, but then he doesn't know really what to do, doesn't have a solid jump stop, dribbles too far into the lane, gets a shot blocked. We'll see. He'll figure it out. But I thought Santi had a pretty nice game, especially ball movement-wise. Picking up 4 assists was cool. So, like, maybe something we can learn from this game is that Santi Aldama, indeed, is ahead of everyone else in the race for being opening night starter at the 4, while Jaren Jackson Jr. is out. Beyond that, one of the things I'm taking away from this game, it's like one of my concerns for the Grizzlies. Now, I was talking about this in the live playback room I did with some of you guys on Saturday, but like my concerns for the Grizzlies, and I think a couple people have these concerns, my concerns for the Grizzlies this year, it's like, all right, we're excited about Ja Morant. We're excited about Desmond Bane. We're excited to see more Dillon Brooks this season, and the rookies could be cool and Zaire Williams can make a leap. But the concerns are if they have trouble replicating the formula of success from last year, which was, steal, get a bunch of steals and blocks, get out in transition, get those defensive rebounds, score a lot in offensive rebounds, but mainly turn your defense into offense. And when you lose the guys they lost this offseason and they replaced them with unproven rookies, you're like, oh, all right, we're going to be probably worse at defense. We're going to be worse at defensive rebounding. Like, are we going to be able to do what we did last year? Now, some of it is actually by design, where I think the team and Zach Kleiman has decided we're okay if we don't necessarily replicate the formula for wins. We still obviously want to win, but maybe the formula is not going to be as much chaos, offensive rebounding, transition. Maybe it'll be a little bit better. Like, we'll raise that effective field goal percentage up. You guys know, by the way, last year that the Grizzlies were the first team on record since they've kept this data to be top 5 in the NBA in offense and have a bottom 10 effective field goal percentage. So last year, top 5 offense by offensive rating, and I believe they were 22nd in effective field goal percentage. Only team on record that's ever done that. But Zach Kleiman said, our half-court offense has to get better. And that's why all their moves this offseason, their roster moves, were done with the goal of improved shooting. Improve the shooting on the team. Now, me as a cynic/critic points out we didn't add any shooting. We lost shooting in Melton's three-point volume and also three-point accuracy, but we haven't replaced it with anything. I mean, Danny Green notwithstanding. Danny Green's injured. The rookies you brought in, you hope they shoot, but we haven't really added that shooting that we're hoping for. But anyways, my concern in this game about like, what if we're not as good at defense and what if we can't rebound that well? Well, through the first 3 quarters, the story was the Grizzlies could not get any stops. They could not clear the defensive glass. Through the first 3 quarters, when the Bucks were still playing some players that mattered, I mean, they played in the first half, they played legit guys. Drew Holiday played, Brook Lopez was playing, like Bobby Portis was playing. Grayson Allen played the whole game. I mean, Grayson Allen revenge game. By the way, he's changed his number to number 12. Apparently he's given his number 7 to his new teammate, Joe Ingles. But through the first 3 quarters, the Bucks had out-rebounded the Grizzlies by 21. The Bucks had 17 offensive rebounds, and the Grizzlies had 3 offensive rebounds. Through the first 3 quarters, the Bucks had 17 more field goal attempts than the Grizzlies. And now, yes, of course, Steven Adams didn't play. But I think right now we're depending a lot. We're putting a lot on Steven Adams' plate, saying, hey, we need you to get every rebound. Because, like, Jaren, we know, well-publicized issues with grabbing rebounds. Dylan Brooks is a bad rebounder. Zaire Williams has never shown that he's much of a rebounder. Zaire Williams played this game, looked pretty solid, really smooth on offense, knocked down some three-pointers, beautiful three-point stroke. But Zaire Williams doesn't pick up blocks and steals and rebounds. He just hasn't yet. Maybe one day he will. But so far, like, I see Zaire as, like, he's just going to be more of a scorer. Had some fine ball handling, did some good pick-and-roll stuff with Santi Aldama. But as far as, like, that scrappy play, that get out in transition, that get stops, turning into offense, we haven't seen that from Zaire Williams. So I think the rebounding is a big concern for this team. And what I saw through the first 3 quarters, again, maybe it's preseason, maybe it shouldn't matter at all. It kind of reinforced that concern. Like, I'm a little worried. Like the lineups where Brandon Clark wasn't on the court, where you truly didn't have like a center. Like you had one big. You had Kenneth Lofton Jr. out there with Laravia and Roddy. I mean, I don't know what Kenneth Lofton Jr. is. He's not really a center. He's not really a power forward, but he's certainly a big. So he's the one big. And then flanking him, you had, again, the rookies, Laravia and Roddy. Neither one of them a traditional power forward. Neither one of them could grab a rebound. The Bucks got, I believe it was 47% of their misses they rebounded. The Bucks got the offensive rebound on 47% of their misses when Laravia or Roddy were on the court. One game, probably doesn't matter, but it did reinforce like a concern I had. Now, the fourth quarter for the Grizzlies, which erased all like the concerns for most people, you're like, oh, that was fun. Outscored the Bucks 41-26. In the fourth quarter, the Grizzlies out-rebounded the Bucks 16-4. Made the stats look better. The Grizzlies got 7 offensive rebounds in the fourth quarter to 0 for the Bucks. The Grizzlies also got 18 free throw attempts in the fourth quarter. So, like, if you bet a preseason game, if you bet on the Bucks, it was a pretty miserable fourth quarter to watch. I don't recommend betting on preseason games, guys. But it was a fun game because you got to see the rookies show out. And even if the rebounding concerns were there, you know, it's the first preseason game. I'll allow you that. Doesn't matter. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy the performances. And I think, you know, when we start with the performances, let's start with Kenneth Lofton Jr. What can't this guy do? All right, maybe it's play defense, but this guy scores in so many fun ways, and every time he gets on the court, he does well. This guy, I watched him back in those under-19s back in the day playing with Chet Holmgren, and he was awesome. And then apparently he goes, I don't see him play college because I don't watch college basketball, but he goes undrafted, mainly because of body type and concerns about his fit in the NBA. And then in Summer League, I mean, he was a fan darling, the most popular player on the Grizzlies coming in, and he just got buckets whenever he came in. He led the Grizzlies in points per minute in Summer League. Now, is it notable he wasn't able to force his way into the starting lineup in a Summer League situation? Maybe. But after the Summer League that was pretty encouraging, he comes out in this first preseason game, drops 17 points, and does it in a variety of ways. Hits the three-pointer, hits the free throw line jumper, takes Serge Ibaka off the dribble for the and one. I know Serge is near the end of his career, but Serge is an all-time, not an all-time, but Serge is a great NBA defender. He's a great shot blocker. And Junior just drove right at him, got an and one. He took Brook Lopez down to the post, just bully balled him for a layup. I am all about Kenneth Lofton Jr. We got to see, man, what he can do when he's with the real guys. And maybe when he's going up against real NBA competition. But, man, do not slow this hype train down. That guy is so much fun to watch play. And he's just like, he's like a microwave. He's a microwave Zebo. Just instant offense, it seems like, coming in. He did have a bad pass. He had a bad turnover where he missed a wide open John Conchar. John Conchar was just cutting nonstop in this game, getting lots of assist opportunities for his teammates. But, like, you're excited about Kenneth Lofton Jr., and, man, I don't know what to make of him. Like, should he get in the conversation for, like, trying to start opening night? I don't know. It's probably a lot to ask, but Nothing we've seen yet from Kenneth Lofton Jr. I know in Summer League he committed so many fouls and committed so many turnovers, but the guy is just a hooper and can put the ball in the bucket, and I love watching him play. Beyond him, Kennedy Chandler, I thought, had a great game. I was bemoaning that his first ever NBA start would go up against Drew Holiday. That's kind of a tough draw. Drew Holiday's fantastic. Drew Holiday terrorized Ja Morant. I mean, the first couple of times they played. But Kennedy Chandler, I thought he acquitted himself nicely. Had a great defensive play against Drew in the first quarter. Also, I think he had some butterflies to start off the game because he did over-penetrate a few times. The defense was playing him to pass. The defense was backing off of him and being like, hey, shoot a 7-footer or shoot an 8-footer, a floater. We're not going to guard you. And Kennedy Chandler did not take those opportunities. He still tried to make a pass, tried to force the ball in there. Didn't really work that well. But then in the second half, I thought he really calmed down, really settled down, and, got a lot of nice steals, got his hands on a lot of balls. He was credited with 4 steals and also 6 deflections. You love to see that. His final stat line a little bit bloated because of that fourth quarter. Picked up 4 assists in the fourth quarter. I know the fourth quarter sort of mattered, but it didn't really matter. I mean, that's when the Bucks really cleared their bench, and you'd prefer to win over lose. Like, you're happy they rallied and won, but a lot of the concerns of this game, like Jake LaRavia or the rebounding, they flipped in the fourth quarter. We're like, oh, Jake LaRavia had a great fourth quarter. A little bit more on him in a second, but love what we saw from Kennedy Chandler, like the 11 points, 8 assists, 4 steals, obviously an awesome line, but knocking down 3-pointers, and mainly his defense translating. His defense looking like it was a kind of calling card there. So a very encouraging preseason debut from Kennedy Chandler. Going to David Roddy, I think he was probably next best for the Grizzlies. Made a couple of threes early. He did get his shot blocked a few times, kind of a welcome to the NBA moment of, hey, that move doesn't work anymore. But I thought his energy was really infectious, and he was a big part of that fourth quarter rally, a big spark there. Love what you see from Big Body Roddy. LaRavia, the concerns of him coming out of Vegas Summer League, where he doesn't shoot. What does he do? He doesn't grab rebounds. What does he do? We saw it in the second half. He got a wide open 3-pointer that really got him going. You saw that beautiful stroke. And then he had that awesome play where he has the steal and then the breakaway dunk. So that was a great spark to end the game, and hopefully that carries over into the next game. Vince Williams Jr. Didn't do a lot. That's kind of been the story on him. I don't think he has much in the way of moves or a handle. Like, he's not going to be able to create his own shot. He's supposed to be like a pint-sized or a very cheap replacement Mr. Do Something, or a very cheap replacement of like a Tony Allen. He's just a steals and blocks guy, glue guy, connective tissue guy who's supposed to knock down an open 3 when he gets it. He did make a 3 in this one, so that's encouraging, but he's not going to do much on the ball to create, and he might just be around for like hustle plays and also playing on the hustle this year. That's what I think we should expect from Vince Williams Jr. Beyond that, we can wrap up this episode just talking about the other players. Brandon Clark, like I said, you wish he dominated a little more, but that's not really his, I don't know, preseason's not really his area to shine, probably. He needs those other pieces. He needs Ja Morant throwing him lobs and whoever else throwing him lobs, and then him just playing off of his teammates, him being a perfect defensive partner with Jaren Jackson Jr., that type of thing. Conchar, it always feels strange to me when Conchar starts. He seems just like a bench guy. And it felt like he knew early on he's supposed to be more assertive and aggressive with his shot. So he was shooting a bit. But, he made his impact with just doing Conchar things. Cuts, rebounds, getting his hands on balls on defense. That was nice. And then I guess Aldama, we can talk about it again. Like, he didn't do anything that would make you think he's not first in line to replace Jaren Jackson Jr. I don't know if that's a confusing way to say that, but I thought Aldama's game was pretty encouraging. The shooting line wasn't necessarily there. It got better. Again, he made a couple shots at the fourth quarter. But my favorite things were his patience on finishing after passes. He didn't rush some weird shots. I mean, he did attempt one weird, reverse layup that didn't go in when he was guarded by Brook Lopez. But generally, when he caught a pass under the basket, he stopped, realized he was 7 feet tall, took his time, and then dunked it. I like to see that. His jumper, as always, it looks right. And that's encouraging, at least. Like, he made 1 3, he missed some others, but they all look right. His form is beautiful. The shot itself looks beautiful. So hopefully that's a sign of increased accuracy to come. As far as the other guys that played, Jacob Gilyard, came in, did some backup point guard minutes. He had a rough go of it. He basically wasn't ever looking to score, to shoot. I think he played 18 minutes, had no points, only took 1 shot. It was near the end. He only got 1 assist, also 3 turnovers, so wasn't the best. Also, by the way, those terrible rebounding stats for the lineups with LaRavia and Roddy, a lot of those were with Gilyard, and Gilyard's 5'9", so I guess the team rebounding wasn't super effective, and Gilyard had trouble helping out there. And I already talked about Zaire, pretty smooth on offense, seemed okay. I think you liked what you saw from him with the way he finished. I'd like to see him do more like basketball type plays on the defensive end. Definitely need him to grab rebounds. Definitely need him to step it up and force those blocks and steals so they can get out in transition and get those buckets. But maybe Zaire's the answer for our half-court offense and not our full-court regular season offense. But a solid first preseason game. Again, my takeaway, I'm circling I'm a little concerned about the team's rebounding. And I'm also saying I think that reinforced what we thought about this depth chart. But we'll find out a lot more on Monday night in the game against the Magic. We'll also probably find out a lot more for those of you in the Memphis area who go to the open practice. Grizz Nation, you can get up close and personal with your Memphis Grizzlies at the annual open practice presented by Verizon. It's going to be next Sunday, or this coming Sunday, October 9th at FedEx Forum. This free event will feature the entire squad, tipping off with a plaza party at 10 a.m. The doors open at noon, and then it's a 12:30 p.m. practice start. The first 500 fans in attendance will receive an autographed player photo. Plus, stop by the Verizon Home Internet experience for the Shoot to Win Challenge. The grand prize winner will score 2022-2023 Grizzlies season tickets that day. For more information about the open practice, visit Grizzlies.com. Make sure you guys are subscribing on YouTube. I have some visual aids added in. Sometimes some highlights are sprinkled in. So definitely subscribe on YouTube to Grits and Grinds. I hope you're having a great Monday. I will talk to you soon. Go Grizz.